Hi there, beautiful teachers. Welcome, welcome, welcome to day 4 of the 7 days for 7 ways to gamify series. On day 4 today, we're going to be talking about how to make music history and the composers, teaching about the great composers great current composers too, more fun and more engaging for our students. If you want to make sure you catch all of these sessions live, there's still 3 more to go after today, then you're going to want to go to vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday to sign up. So that will get you the email notifications each and every day before we go live, so you can hop on over here whether Facebook tells you about it or not. Okay? And the reason you want to hop on over and watch a workshop really quickly rather than later on is because if you watch them before the next one goes live, you can comment to win one of my fabulous prizes here. So I have a yellow one, an orange one, a green one, and a pink one left. The blue one went, and so did the red one. That was the other color. The red one is gone too. So 2 are gone, 4 more still to go, and the big prize, the annual VMT membership, which I'm giving away on the last day, which is Tuesday the 18th. So 3 more workshops to go. Make sure to sign up. That's at vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday. And if you want to get in on a chance to get tomorrow's prize, you need to answer the question of the day. You need to answer it in this format. VMT, start your comment with the letters VMT. Then you can say if you want the color of the prize, otherwise just say nothing about the color if you want to. And then you're going to put the answer to the question. And the question of the day is, how do you bring music history into your lessons? How do you do it so far? If the answer is not at all, that's fine. That's a perfectly legitimate answer. If it's not enough, if it's whenever I see an opportunity, I do massive music history projects every year and I do all these fabulous things, whatever it is for you. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate, but you do have to answer the question to be in with a shot of winning, and it has to start with the letters VMT for Vibrant Music Teaching, because it's to celebrate the Vibrant Music Teaching site's first birthday. Today we're going to talk about music history, so I'm kicking off the training in just a moment here. I just want to say hi to some people that have joined in. Alyssa, who was on the first one, and not yesterday maybe. Anyway, Alyssa is here, Claire is here, Stella, Ket, Sandy, Judith, Stephania. Awesome to see all of you here. Please do keep adding in your highs and do answer today's question. Again, that is, how do you bring history into your lessons? And you answered in this format: VMT, the color of the prize you want to win, and your answer. And if you enter for any of these drawings on any of the first 6 days of this series, you're in with a shot of winning the annual VMT membership, which is on the final day. Janelle has answered the question. Let's use an example, Janelle, for the whole class. VMT, pink is the one she wants to open. That's the big one. Don't take the time to incorporate music history. I totally get it. It's very hard to do. Let's have another example here from Beth. VMT pink, I do it as it is relevant. For example, if we learn Ode to Joy, then we'll chat and learn all about Beethoven. Yeah, I like that, and I like doing it in the context of pieces. Sometimes it's hard to always fit it in doing that way. Do you ever find that, Beth? Or do you find you do it consistently? Stephanie wants the question again, so let's show it to her. How do you bring history into your lessons? And you need to answer it in this format, Stephanie. VMT, the colour of the prize you want to win, and then your answer. How do you currently bring music history into your lessons? What are you doing so far? A couple more examples here I'll take from the chat. They're flooding in. We've got Sandy. She said, VMT pink. As part of practice incentives, I sometimes have kids write 5 facts about a composer of their choice. Once a year, I have music listening all day. I have a music listening day, and we listen to music while I tell them facts about composers. Sounds like a great way to do it, Sandy. So, keep your replies, your comments about how you teach music history coming in, and make sure to put VMT at the start, so that you're in with a shot of winning tomorrow's prize. I'm going to be announcing today's prize winners, which are drawn from yesterday's comments, at the end of today's broadcast. Super excited to open up another present. and send it out to one lucky viewer of yesterday's. So I'm going to, again, break this down into different sections because I think that's helpful for how digestible these things are when you're just watching over video, right? So the first section I want to talk about today is micro assignments. And I've dubbed it this because they are small assignments. The idea here is that we assign small little things for our students to do consistently. And because they're tiny little things, we can do it consistently, right? Whereas if we try to do these massive projects, sometimes they just don't happen. And that's really what I want to get at here. What is something that we can do each and every week, and that over the course of a year, we can build up a huge amount of knowledge in our students' little brains, right? So if we can do these little things every week and be really consistent about it, I think we can achieve massive results. And this is, of course, something I'm trying to do more and more. So often what I'm sharing here are the things, the experiments I'm doing in my studios, and they really do work very well when we do them consistently. The first way to do this is to do a one fact, okay? So, one fact, share one fact with me next week about blank. What are some things you can think of, answer in the comments, that we could share one fact about? For example, it could be a composer or a time period. What could you ask them to look up one fact about? I just wanted to get to Janelle's comment there before it slides by me. I find it difficult to convince today's kids to be interested in the famous composers when most of their music is by contemporary composers, and they don't practice enough to do Bach. Fair enough. I want to get music history in, but compared to teaching sight reading, it usually loses, except for the occasional spot on music history. I get what you're saying there, Janelle. It is hard to fit in, and certainly if they're not doing any pieces by any composers, then that can be tough. Do you not use any arrangements of like someone mentioned there, Ode to Joy is a great way to fit in Beethoven, or different arrangements of classical themes? Kids actually love those, the really famous ones. For at least, dare I say, first, they mentioned the FE words, right? Arrangements of those at an easier level can be a great way to hook them into the composers, and in the end, not Bach. I'm sorry, Bach does not motivate many people who have not already studied Bach. I'll just say it. But driving forward to learn Mozart or Beethoven or Chopin or something that is actually dramatic and does hook people in, can be a way to push them towards that level. So if they're introduced to those themes earlier on, it can be helpful, and it can be a great way to get them in. Beth says, yeah, cool point. They really don't have a clue who the old guys are, as one young'un put it. Yeah. So little bits and pieces, I think, are the main way that I want to encourage you to do this. So one way is to just look up one fact about a composer. Try to relate it to what they're doing. So it could be that they're doing an arrangement of Ode to Joy and they have to look up one fact about Beethoven. It could be that they're doing a piece by Jennifer Eklund and they have to look up one fact about her. Nothing wrong with that. It doesn't have to be just history for them to be learning about the composers behind their music, right? Those people can be alive. They don't have to be dead every time. So, someone like Jennifer Eklund, who's super accessible and very willing to answer questions on Facebook and that kind of thing, would be great. And all the people in the composer community, they're all great as well. So having them just look up one fact or one thing about that period that they're studying the music from, or one thing they can tell you, explain you something about the form they're doing as well. Sonata form or whatever is coming up. If it's an arrangement of, I don't know, a concerto or whatever, can they learn a bit about what that is during the week? Now, the thing about doing any of these micro assignments is that they're completely useless if you don't follow up on them next week. You have to ask about them, and I recommend asking about it as the first thing, because otherwise you will forget about it. And also, if you ask it as the first thing when they come in the door, it's going to emphasize to them that you think this is important. So when they come in the following week, ask them for their one fact. If they don't have it, I don't suggest that you give out to them or blame them or anything. Just say, oh, okay. Assign them another fact and then ask again next week. Eventually they'll get the message that this does matter and you are going to keep following up on it without you giving out to them. As I say, it's not necessary. Another way to do this, which is super fun, is passwords. So like one fact, this could be that you set up a password and you tell them in advance, okay, the password to get in next week is going to be Bach's birth year, or the period that Beethoven wrote his music in, or anything. Could be any little fact. And yeah, that sounds tiny. That's just one piece of information, and we want them to get the big picture. But having one little piece of information, as I say, over the course of a year, it can build up. And passwords are a fun way to do that. You could put a sign on the front of the door that they need to answer to get in. And of course, they can get in anyway, because you're not going to actually leave them out of their lesson, are you? Sandy just said, some of these composers had super interesting lives. Lots of kids. Brock comes to mind there. Relationship drama. Hook them in that way. Yeah, I find kids actually do find this stuff interesting, especially when they're learning a piece by them, to learn something about them, especially if you can give them some interesting facts or they can look them up themselves. Another micro assignment that you could do is to ask them for something that happened in the piece year. I think this is probably my favorite because this is where history actually works for me as a student. I am not interested, and never was interested, in dates and wars and battles and all of this. The period of history that we actually learnt about in school that I found the most interesting was the explorers. Because it was actually about what was going on at the time, what life was like, how things worked and all of that. And it was actually interesting to me. And I didn't really know that I could like history until I got to college and started doing history of art and costume. Because as you may not know, I studied fashion design. So that's what I was studying. So we did history of art and history of costume, which just turns into history of fashion. That's just two different terms for the same thing, really. And that was fascinating because we learned not just about the dress, but about why it was like that. Because I had a fabulous teacher who put everything into context. Why did they dress this way? What were the, social influences? What was going on at the time that made this happen? Things like World War I happened and that meant there was less fabric, blah, 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 blah. You get the idea. Doing the same thing with music is something that I try to do. So have them look up one thing that happened the year their piece was written. Give them some context. Don't put these things in isolation. We don't do enough of that with history in schools, certainly here. I don't know about other countries, but I don't think it's done enough. And when you put these things into perspective, it actually becomes interesting because you can latch on to it. The fact that they were wearing wigs around the time, or whatever. Some little detail means they can picture what it was like, just that little bit more. Just checking in with the comments there, sorry. Beth said, I also send them clips from YouTube of their pieces by orchestra, I'm using that says, so they can get more of an idea of the feel of the piece, how the piece was originally. Yeah, great to do with arrangements of orchestral music. Get them to actually listen to the actual orchestra playing it, and then they can sing out, those trumpet notes or whatever, and actually feel how it's a representation of that. Okay, so these are all my micro assignments. I'm just going to check in with the questions for those who are just joining us. To get in on these workshops every day, you're going to sign up at vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday, and that will mean that you get email notifications before we go live. If you don't want to miss the start, and you did today, that's how to get in on the action straight away. And you need to answer today's question to be in with a shot of winning one of these prizes, and maybe even the annual VMT membership tomorrow. So how do you bring music history into your lessons currently? And you're going to start the answer with VMT. The colour you want to win, we've got orange, yellow, green and pink left. and the answer to the question. You must answer the question to be in with a shot of winning. So that's the first way to bring music history into lessons. Now I want to talk about completely the other way, and that's to do much bigger projects. And these could be composer of the month. It could also be that you studied a particular composer or period of history at a workshop, a dedicated workshop, or a camp. I know a lot of people do them at camps as well, which is great. So bigger projects are a great way to do this if you find that you just can't integrate it all year, or you don't put enough an emphasis on it. I don't personally do a composer of the month, but I do think it's a good way to cover things and make sure you get to a whole range of composers, without maybe relying on the pieces if the pieces are not usually by the famous composers that you want to cover, right? So one way to include composer of the month is using those micro assignments. Those two could be combined. You have Beethoven this month, so they have to find out one fact about him the first week. The next week they have to find out about a piece he wrote, etc. Right? Just little bits that you always check up on the following week. You could do big projects like they would do in school, have them put together. I think in the US you call them a lap book, right? Where they're all folding out and stuff. Let me know if that's the wrong title. We would be more likely to do big boards or whatever. They could put together a project. I did endless ones of these in school where it was like a folder that we put together all these different bits of information. You could do that. That would be a great way to cover the composers, but it's a bit more time consuming. So you're not going to want to do that every month. If you plan to do it, it's not happening. Let's be honest. So you'd have to plan that into your year quite carefully. You could, as part of the composer of the month, have everyone learn a piece by them. It could be an arrangement of Ode to Joy at the super beginner level. It could be, full original pieces as well. You could, along the same lines, do a recital where everyone plays a piece from that composer, or you could do periods and have everyone play Baroque or classical or romantic music, something like that, or living composer music. And you could also use stories in this way. This is something I like to bring out at group workshops, especially slightly longer ones, because sometimes we need a bit of a break from like go, and I find story time is great for kids. And you can also lend out books. So I have a couple here to show you guys. I have a way more extensive collection than this, and actually I'd love it if you shared your favorite music history books for kids in the comments. I'm working on a post I'm putting together. I have an older one, but I need to update it, so I'm going to do a new one and do a video of some of my favorites, because I've been building up my collection in an effort to lend these things out to students more. A couple that I have here are some of my favorites, or some new ones as well. Anyone know this one? Do, re, mi, if you can read music, thank you, do, Garezzo. This is probably my favorite, but it's hard to choose, right? So, it's all about the creation of notation, and it teaches, yes, history, but also so much more than that. And so much context is given about him working, him being a monk and all of this. So that's a wonderful one, and the illustrations are gorgeous. I love that book. Another great one for younger kids is this guy. This is a newer one, and I actually just shared this photo of this recently. So if some of you saw this on my Instagram and didn't know what it was, and were wondering why I didn't tell you, it's because Shelley Davis then said it was in Piano Parent Podcast with Dawn Ivers or Ivers? Should be able to pronounce that. Anyway, so I said I'd leave it and let people listen to that. But this is what it was, for those of you who saw that and were wondering. Becoming Bach. So this is a great book about Bach and him growing up in a musical family, and just basically about his story, especially the younger years. Some great ones for older kids then. Why Beethoven Threw the Stew. Everyone know this one? There's also the same series, Why Handel Waggled His Wig. And they're not just entirely about Beethoven. There's a few composers included in each. That's an awesome one for older students or better readers. And If It Ain't Baroque. These ones are fun too. David Barber. What level is this at? Like, I'd say 10, a good 10-year-old reader, maybe 11. So tween into teens would be great for those last two. So having these books on hand is great for lending to students, but I also like to use them, as I say, at group workshops, or you could use them at camps if you do camps, for a story time where I read it to everyone and show the pictures and all of that, and we have a bit of a chat about that. We did that with Do Re Mi, and it was a great conversation starter, and we actually then progressed to them drawing notation and figuring out how it looked in his time and how it looked in our time and what was different and what had developed from where. Let me see here, just checking in with the comments. Great suggestion here from Judith. Just get rid of these so we can see. Give all my students and their parents a musical listening list. Many of them don't really know what the piano sounds like. This gives them an introduction to the various periods, styles, composers, and performance. Great way to do it as well. So let me know what you think of these ideas so far, everyone that's watching. We've had micro assignments so far, and then we've had the bigger projects. Which one appeals to you more? Which do you see yourself actually sticking with? Do you prefer it to be a dedicated time of the year? Or do you think you would actually cover more if you just did tiny little bits each and every week? Which one would be better? The last area I want to look at is, of course, games. And I have two to show you here, which are currently in the library for those of you who are VMT members. Moments with Mozart was released fairly recently. This one is all about Mozart. And there's all these different questions. So they're given as multiple choice, and one student is holding the card and they know which is the answer. So I'll see if this shows up kind of. There we go. So there's a little tick by the bottom one. Let me read you one. Which of these composers was not alive at the same time as Mozart? Clementi, Beethoven, Mendelssohn. Answer being Mendelssohn, by the way. So they're all multiple choice to give everyone a shot of guessing, because I find that helpful and friendlier than just asking for an answer. And it means that they learn something even if they don't know the answer. But the most fun part of Moments with Mozart is that the actual board, this is no way going to fit on the screen. Let's see how much we can fit. There we go. Oh, we did! That is the timeline of Mozart's life. That's the actual board. So it starts 1756 with his birth, and then I've marked various points along the way. So that's part of the gameplay. So they're learning about Mozart's life, how things progress for him, and the travels he did, and all of that throughout it. And then these are longer standing ones. Composer Clash, and each one of these, they're not showing up well, so I'll just, because they're quite white, which is not a good color for the screen. But each one is a composer. So this one is Hannen, for example, very controversial. Alma Mahler, Czerny, Thelonious Monk. Tried to be vaguely representational of both women and people of colour, but it was hard. Duke Ellington is there as well, Fanny Mendelssohn. And on the back of them, I have where they were born, famous works. So let's take Fanny Mendelssohn for an example. Born in Hamburg, Germany. Famous works, the year, Easter Sonata, and then composing superpower, performance superpower. So students battle against each other with these, like Pokemon cards are the thing from my youth, but maybe Pokemon cards are still around. Pokemon's still fairly popular. Anyway, you'll have seen different battling cards to do with different series, right? So it's like that, and they can choose to battle based on their composing superpower or their performance superpower. So composing superpower, leader, because I'm hilarious, is 90 points. Performance superpower is piano powerhouse on this one. This is Robert Schumann, and that's 10 points. So obviously they wouldn't choose to battle him on the grounds of his performance, but on his composing. So that's just a bit of fun, but they do have to say facts about them, like read the back of it while they're doing it, so they're also learning about these guys. Also just becoming familiar with their name, vaguely aware of different time periods, that kind of stuff, while battling with each other and having some fun with that. So those are two great games about music history. I have several more in the pipeline, but I'm limited by the amount I can release every month. So there's a few more that are on the way, such as Bach Off. I mean, how could I not do that? I love a good pun. So, lots more pun-based composers games on the way, and hopefully even more beyond that, because I think just games like this, especially ones like Beethoven's Bucket Dunk, is one that is actually a step and skip game, but it brings in Beethoven and a funny story about him, which is that he used to pour ice cold water over his head to wake himself up or to get himself going or something, and it would drip all the way down through the floorboards. So the reason I like that story is it's funny, it's memorable, tells you something about Beethoven, that he was a bit eccentric, and it allows you to imagine something about the place they lived at the time, because there's floorboards, and obviously the house isn't that sturdy if the water just goes seeping through all the way through the floorboards and through to the next floor. It allows you to picture something and gives you some context. Yeah, that would be a great idea. Sorry, Stella just said charades, where you could write some questions so kids could play together. Yes, awesome. Let me just see here. Any other great ideas in the comments? Don't want to miss them out. This other one from Judith here. We explore the composers of their pieces, give them listening suggestions of other works to give their piece historical context. If there are quirks or fun stories, I like to include them, as they remember the composers really well then. Yeah. Do you find they do the listening assignments? Because I know a lot of teachers have trouble getting them to follow through on listening assignments in particular. Does that happen well for you? Anyway, keep your ideas about teaching composing, whether you're watching live or on the replay, about teaching, not composing, about composers and music history. Keep them flooding in the comments. You want to answer in this format if you haven't already. VMT colour, and then how you bring composers into your lessons, history into your lessons, to be in a shot with a shot of winning. And speaking of, I think Alan is ready to go. Is Alan ready? Yeah, he is. He's always ready. Alan has all the comments from yesterday's workshop inside him. I'm going to give them a good shake there. Listen to that. I don't know if you can hear that. Okay. Are we ready for today's winner? Let's see who it is. Da-da-da-da. Okay. Oh, we can't have her. She was yesterday's. What bad luck. Didn't mean to put her in again. Okay. Michelle Pegus or Pegus. I'm going to come up with so many different ways to say this. Anyway, her profile picture looks kind of like it's a lion, but I'm trying to see, is it Lion King? Anyway, she said VMT green. So we're opening green today. Everyone ready? We build the scale with pom-poms and play them with different articulations. Didn't know that scales could be fun. My bad. We'll definitely try the improv. So I hope she's trying out the improv. If she's live, let us know, Michelle, but I haven't seen her today, I don't think. We're going to open up the green present for you, and it's going to be on the way to you after we finish this broadcast. So grab Mr. Green. Thought I was going to knock them all over there. Opening it up. Let's see what's inside. What do you think it's going to be? Do you want to guess? Have a quick guess. I'm opening. Lots of rustling. Ta-da! I don't know if any of you have ever seen these. These are cards that I created for my own students' birthdays. Each one... Oh, how appropriate that we're opening these today! That is pure luck and happenstance, but I love it. So, they are composer puns. So this one is Papa Haydn. It says, happy birthday, wanna play hide and seek? Then the next one is Haydn again. Surprise! Happy birthday from Papa Haydn. Surprise because surprise symphony. And we have Mr. Bach saying "Get Bach to that party." Several guesses came in there, but no one got these. I didn't really think you were going to guess it. And then Bach says, "Is it your birthday? Oh my Goldberg." I hope Michelle likes puns, because otherwise these are going to be a little bit irritating to her. I know people are a bit divided about my ridiculous puns. Beethoven. Ode to Joy. How could I not do that? I hear it's your birthday. And then another Beethoven one is, "If only your name was Elise, I would have the perfect present for you. Happy birthday anyway." So, another way to bring composers to life for students, with just little bits where they have to figure out what the story is behind that. And also included here are all my musical Christmas cards, which do not have puns. So if Michelle hates puns, she can at least use the Christmas cards and maybe gift the pun-based composers cards to someone else. But hopefully she enjoys my ridiculous and not so elegant puns. Thank you all so much for joining me today. And congratulations to Michelle on your prize. I hope you enjoy it. And I'm building up, so I'm going to add the piece of paper from Alan right up here to this pile. All of these are entries to the annual VMT membership. So if you enter every day, you've got 6 chances of winning. If you only enter once, that's only, that's so much less shot. But still a pretty good shot, So definitely worth showing up to get those extra entries and also to get one of the fun prizes. There's 3 left to go. We've got an orange, a yellow, and a pink. I'm really happy that we've been left with such complementary colours. They look beautiful together. So thank you for organising that through happenstance and luck. And I'm also delighted that we had the composer cards open today, because that is just so perfect. Thank you all for joining me. I hope these tips about teaching music history have been helpful and that you could bring them into your lessons using these ideas. I'm going to be writing a blog post about this, so this is going to be out tomorrow. If you want these things written down, check out the Colourful Keys blog tomorrow, and of course you'll get a link in your inbox if you are subscribed. And if you're not subscribed to these updates, these ones right here where you're getting the link to view these workshops live, there are 3 more to go, so sign up now at vibrantmusicteaching.com/birthday. And if you're watching on the replay or live right now, then you're going to want to answer this question, because you still have a chance to get in on the prize drawing tomorrow if you answer before the next workshop, which will be tomorrow, an hour later than this one, I believe. Around there. So almost 24 hours to answer that question. Get your answers in quick, and you're in with a shot of winning. Thanks so much for joining me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll chat to you tomorrow. Have a great Saturday. Bye for now.